Colorado lawmakers will head back to the Capitol to finish out the legislative session.
They are coming back to a massive budget shortfall, though, and a very different set of priorities than when they left. Denver 7's Megan Lopez goes 360 on the new focus for lawmakers.
For a building that's 125 years old, the Colorado State Capitol sure has seen a lot of changes over the years. Some physical, some ideological.
Please remain standing for
the 2020 session itself, no stranger to change. When lawmakers return from an unprecedented mid-session multi-month recess, those changes will be front and center. From plexiglass barriers between seats to a $3.3 billion budget shortfall. So let's take a 360 look at new legislative priorities, and to do that we'll examine it in three parts: bills introduced before the pandemic, new ones in response to the pandemic, and of course, those budget cuts. Republicans and Democrats will weigh in on each of those topics, then we'll take a look at history. 2020 started as a session of big ideas for Democrats.
Every Coloradan deserves an affordable health care option.
Those priorities now on the back burner. There's no money for them and no time to debate them.
There were about 350 plus bills in the pipeline. The majority of those will end up getting postponed.
But there are still a few pre-pandemic bills Democrats want to move forward with.
There are bills on telehealth and making sure that doctors can get reimbursed.
It's also about, decreasing regulations.
Making sure people can get things notarized remotely rather than going into a bank.
They say those bills are even more relevant today as Colorado copes with COVID-19.
We live in a time.
Republicans, meanwhile,
We can't just get back to business as usual.
have had an uphill battle since the start of the session.
I've got two bills that are still in the process.
They're hopeful some of their previous priorities will survive, like a bill to lower the salaries of elected officials in a couple counties to save money.
I've got another one that if a county commissioner or an elected official so chooses, they don't have to take their full salary.
Bills that reduce regulation, reduce red tape. There are some of those that have been moving through before all this stopped.
What we want to be is Colorado.
But Minority Leader Representative Patrick Neville says it's important to understand.
We shouldn't go back and redoing every single bill that was already in the system. We got to look at everything through a new lens.
Along with the old bills, lawmakers are considering a slate of new ones.
I think we're all thinking about legislation that will support recovery, get us back to work.
For Democrats,
there are things that people have brought up around price gouging or how we deal with speedy trials during a pandemic.
There's some housing assistance that we hope to do to help people stay in their homes.
They're also considering legislation to protect employees who feel unsafe at work, as well as help for people who can't pay their utility bills. For Republicans, it's too late for new legislation.
I have no way of getting a late bill. I need the majority's approval to get a late bill. The Republicans are ready to get back to work.
So in a rally before the session resumed, they hoped their voices were enough to push their priorities.
Our plan is to reduce or waive interest on property taxes.
Representative Lori Sain wants to help ease the financial burden for small businesses by waiving late fees on taxes and preventing higher unemployment insurance premiums.
The only way we're going to get back on our feet is small business and business in general.
I have a few updates.
Republicans also want more checks and balances on the governor for executive orders.
We want reasonable limits on a governor's ability to shut down the economy.
And for counties and their health departments to create their own policies.
We might be in the minority, but these are majority concerns.
But all of these new ideas.
With the forecast update, we are now expecting you to be facing a $3.3 billion shortfall.
Overshadowed by an unprecedented budget shortfall.
We are not prepared for what's going to come.
Members of the Joint Budget Committee now tasked with making deep cuts. Both Republicans and Democrats understand the situation.
The budget forecast is really quite devastating right now for the state of Colorado.
It means that nothing is off the table.
When the budget is this bad, bipartisanship is the only way forward.
I think we're all kind of working together to try to figure out how do we minimize the pain to some of Colorado's most vulnerable populations.
Now, there will be a couple of issues that we did not agree on.
I do think the biggest fight we probably will have going back into session when it comes to the budget is probably on the senior homestead exemptions.
It's how you experience it.
Senator Bob Rankin wants to protect tourism marketing.
I want us to think more about the future. Our tourism budget right now, this year, is funding our marketing plan to bring people here next winter. and next summer.
Fights that will play out when the session resumes.
I mean, you have to work in a bipartisan manner in a situation like this.
Despite the dire outlook, Colorado has been here before.
Oh, I'm Terence Carroll. I'm a former Speaker of the House, and I may have been, until Speaker Becker, the last speaker that had to make significant budget cuts.
Carroll was the House Speaker during the Great Recession.
My inside voice was saying, we're effed. Can I say that on TV? Yeah, but I mean, I was thinking we're really going down a really dark hole.
There are things he thinks the legislature did well back then and mistakes he hopes today's lawmakers won't repeat, like creating the negative factor for school funding.
We had no clue, really. It was something to try to, ease the pain and make it across the board. Didn't quite work out that way.
Carroll's best advice for lawmakers is this:
be honest and transparent with the people of Colorado. Don't play hide the ball. Folks will understand much better what's going on if we're clear from the very beginning.
There are no easy answers for today's problems. Republicans and Democrats each have their priorities on how to weather this pandemic. They'll have to work together to come up with solutions, but the only thing that's certain when they return is change, in a building that's no stranger to it. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
So much has changed in just a short time, but we'd love to hear from you. Are there things you think lawmakers should cut to save money, or programs that you really need to survive? You can email us your thoughts to 360@thedenverchannel.com.